Hey there, YouTubers. Me again. I'm going to let you take 2 guesses what we're going to work on today. First guess doesn't count. Today's going to be a little special because we are going to turn this little small block into a monster. Yep, we're going to turn into a monster Hemi. People are like, what? A Hemi? Because I think Roadkill did a Hemi and a Gremlin, and the thing stuck out about this high. Well, while extremely cool, not overly practical, right? So I'm trying to do practical and Hemify it, right? So we have to make some compromises. So basically, what my compromise is going to be is we're just going to shrink everything, right? But here, the main problem I'm having is these big bad boys don't want to fit inside the car. They're hitting everything. So what this is about really is turning my small block Chevy into my big monster Hemi. Alright, now I'm not a wizard, so hopefully you can figure out what's about to happen. But the main thing we're going to work on is making these fit. Okay? And it's going to be, unfortunately, it's going to require cutting on these. And I hate to do that. Fortunately, they weren't real expensive. They look really good, though. And to cut on something that's so pretty, just kind of going to hurt a little. But we're going to have to make these fit. And we're going to have to do some cutting. So stay with me, and we are going to make these big bad boys fit inside this Gremlin. And it should be an adventure. So let's get started. As you can probably see, these things are almost as big as the engine itself. So this becomes an issue. This one, I can almost get it in, but because of the way it's designed back here, it won't go over the valve cover and still clear this. Still not 100% sure if it's going to clear this, the heater. Now, I was thinking there's many ways, because this heater is, I don't know, is it necessary? I don't really drive it in the winter, so we may just take it out altogether. But it's nice to have defrost, but it is not 100% necessary. I scratched this all up already. Dadgum. Alright. As you know, in the last video, we got the some exhaust to fit, and it fits really, really nice. I'm very super duper 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 happy with that. So now if I get these bad boys to fit on here, then we can throw the rest of the car together, and that would be, then we could drive it. It would be awesome. My first hurdle is getting these to fit. Second hurdle is, how do I mount them? I think I can get at least one of these to line up with the valve cover bolts. And then the next one, I thought about using Velcro. I thought about drilling and tapping, making mounts, like have a mount come off of here and bolt up. I haven't got that far yet. And then the other hurdle is going to be spark and plug wires, because I want the spark plug wires to run through here just like the real deal. Alright, so that's going to require, I may have to figure out a way to get either really long wires or figure out a way to splice wires, and I'm not sure that's going to be good for the engine. But because I don't think I can go over these manifolds, I might be able to make some form of a heat shield over these, and I can run the wires over the top of them. That would be ideal. So I may go that route if I can find some form of heat shield to go over that. That would be definitely an option. So anyway, let's get started. Do we want to start on this side, or do we want to start on that side? The hurdles on this side are going to be the battery box, because it likes to hit right here, but that's only a temporary. The biggest hurdle is going to be this, but I think I think we'll be under it once we get in. So first thing we're going to start off with is I'm going to cut the back out of here. When it's on, you can't really see the back at all. So we're going to cut the whole back out of this valve cover. I'm going to cut this whole back out for clearance. I tried several different ways of cutting this. I tried a body saw. That didn't do anything. I did try a cutoff wheel, and that works somewhat. The thing that worked best was my bandsaw. The only problem is I'm only going to be able to go to about here on the bandsaw, and on this one over here, because I can't go through here. So I've got the Sawzall, and I'm going to try that. But to get up in here, I think I'm just going to have to go with the cutoff wheel, even though I'm not really liking that idea. But that's what we got. We're going to have to work with what we got. The biggest problem I think I'm going to run into is not getting in the way of the camera. I don't really know how I'm going to do this without totally blocking your view, but we're going to try. Well, that was definitely the right choice. That went like super simple. Now I'll take the C-clamp off. Flip it over to the other side. We got that. I'm going to try to do it with this. Ooh, violent. How am I going to do this without standing? I might have to move the camera, I guess. The only thing about a Sawzall is they tend to be quite violent. There's that one, so let's flip it back over. And we'll see just how far this gets us. Aluminum's a whole. I wish these were metal. I would have loved to buy some metal, sheet metal Hemi valve covers because they would have been awesome. I mean, these are pretty, but a lot harder to work with. I'm not the best at welding aluminum, so if I have to modify them with any kind of welding, it's going to be a learning experience. But I'm going to have to cut across here with the cutting wheel, and then I'm going to have to cut across here with the cutting wheel. So let's see what we can do with this. What I hate about aluminum too is the splinters from aluminum are terrible. You can't get them out. All right, let's kind of get rid of these burrs so I don't kill myself or tear my hands up. Now you need a special burr tool for aluminum because a regular burr tool will clog up in no time when you're using it on aluminum. The only problem with the aluminum ones is they're extremely aggressive and they cut material extremely fast. And use a file too, but aluminum and files is never a good idea either because they clog the file up. Better to clog the files and have a bunch of aluminum splinters. Alright, modification number 1. What I'm hoping for is that it's just going to fall into place. But reality is not always such. Where am I hitting? Oh. Where am I hitting? almost in here. I'm hitting something. Let's see. On the... That's not it. Where am I hitting? Interesting. What am I? It's gotta be, yeah, hitting something on this lower edge on the exhaust manifold. That's what it is. Okay. So I've got to cut that lower corner out of there. It's not going to be a big deal because you're not going to see it. But it's hitting something on the exhaust down here. So that's not a big deal. We're just going to cut that lower corner right off of there. I'm going to cut this corner right off of here. I'm not sure if I'm going to leave this nib or not. I could probably get rid of that without any... I think I'm going to, at first, I'm going to try to stay behind the line. And I think that looks good right there. Okay, let's try it again. All that is still hitting on that bottom corner because this needs to tuck all the way back to the firewall. And I'm still hitting here somewhere. I'm still hitting on the exhaust down there. Thinking that this whole, at least for another inch or two, I'm going to have to get rid of this whole bottom edge. Just to sit down, it's fine everywhere except for I still have it sticking out too far here, so I need about 4 more inches. So, what is the catch? Oh, the exhaust. So we're going to have to whack probably this whole bottom edge out right here. Take about 3 or 4 inches out of here. Not going to see it because of the way it fits into the car, so we should be fine. Alright, I'm going to just lop all of this off of here. Probably at an angle. Try to do that without too much destruction. go, we're getting close. And we are there. She's not quite back as far as I would like. Pretty darn close, because I actually want it to sit on this flange. Am I on the... I think that's probably about it. I think we're in. I don't really like it being that, I would like for it to go further back. The only way I can do that is to cut the valve cover where it can be seen. Yeah, I don't think I want to do that. So do I live with it sticking out a little bit here? Yeah, I need about an inch. And I don't really have an inch in the back. Unless I reroute those brake lines. That might give me the inch I need. So I can either cut the valve cover or move some brake lines. See, I could actually cut the valve cover right across here and give me all the room I need. Do I want to do that is the question. This thing is, something's pushing it forward. Oh, the dipstick tube is pushing on the valve cover. There we go. And that's how it's going to be right there once I mount it. I like it. I just don't like this, but I think I can make that. I think I can deal with that. It's basically the width of my fingers sticking out. I think we can make that. I think we can hide that. I'm not sure. Now, how am I going to mount it? That's the question. Do these line up at all with any of my bolts? If I get one bolt in there, that'd be awesome. I believe it does. I believe it lines up with that one right there. So let me get a bolt and see if I can make that happen. I've got a funny feeling I'm going to be hunting bolts, but we'll see. That sticks out quite a ways. I can't get it to go on good enough to even come close to doing it. Okay, this is coming down into the intake here. It's just too far in. So, any ideas out there? Anybody got an idea how we can mount this? Because it's got to go. I mean, that's okay like that too, but and it's fine. I guess we can leave it hanging like that. But I still need some way to mount it to the engine. And my idea of running one of these into the original valve cover hole is not going to work because these are set too far off. Can't get it in there. It's just not going to happen. So, I'm going to have to dream up some idea. But anyway, that one's on. That one's in-ish. And you saw the intake I was putting on this. So once I figure out a way to mount this bad boy, then it's pretty wild, I must admit. Same process on this one. I'm going to cut this end out, and then we can install it. Battery died. Okay, once again, the steering column is a problem. It isn't going to go between the steering column so it's hitting right about here on the steering column. So I'll put this all the way back, which there's other obstacles back there. Hitting something. We're going to hit this plate, which I don't think there's any reason for that. I think the brake lines are going to get rerouted a little bit. I'm going to raise them up a little higher. And I'm hitting It's definitely going to hit this doohickey here. I don't even know what that's all about. It doesn't even seem to need to be there. So I'm going to cut a section of that. So we're going to have to cut the bottom off of this. You're not going to see any of the bottom. So I'm going to cut almost the entire bottom out, at least to about here. This, I don't know if you can see this, probably, it's just a little offshoot, so I think I'm just going to get in there and cut that away, probably with a body saw. And it's got some brake lines wrapping around, and if I move the brake lines, that will also clear that one to go back a little further too. But we're definitely hitting here, we're hitting here. I think this is going to be, my throttle cable is going to be an issue, I think. I don't even know if that's what I'm hitting. But see how these loop around, those are definitely going to hit before this will. But I need to clear the steering column first so that I can get it back and see just what else I need to clear. So let's get cutting on the bottom here. Probably about half of the valve cover is going to have to come out. That'll clear the valve, clear the steering column. And we'll see. This is a little further away from everything, so I don't know if I have to worry about that, to be honest with you. Because, oh yeah, it's still, it's got to go back considerably further, and it is hitting my throttle cable. So we're either going to have to move the throttle cable up a little bit. Haven't figured that out yet. This wiring's good. We'll get that up here. That's out of the way. But it is hitting the throttle cable pretty hard. But again, actually once that's down all the way, it may be under that. I think it will be once it's down. So let's go ahead and cut the bottom out of this and see where that puts us. So I'm going to cut all of this. To about there, I think. Well, it's a great tool. It's limited. Good heavens to Murgatroyd, Batman. Dadgum. That is seriously violent. I wish they made a Sawzall, or maybe a blade. You know, a blade on this as opposed to a cutoff wheel might be an idea. But let's get this on here. What the heck? I hate these safety buttons. feels dull. It doesn't feel dull. But it just doesn't want to cooperate. Cut out if I got that. Oh, come on. There we go. We are in like Flynn. I don't know if that would be perfect right there if I could make that happen. But I don't think. I don't know if I can get. Man, that's so close. But I think it's sticking up over. Yep, it's up a little bit here. Crap. It's right up against that steering column. So, golly, do I cut into? Oh, and I'm right up against this too. Oh, I'm underneath the wires though, so that's good. And I'm under the throttle cable, so that's all good. So, if I cut, let me go get my magic marker. Well, they're not sitting quite the way I wanted them to sit. I really wanted them up a little more like this. But it doesn't seem like that's going to happen in the world that I'm living in. So I'm going to have to cut. Right, I need to cut some of this out of here. And I need to cut some of this out of here. That's cutting into the pretty part of it, but again, we're not going to see it the way it's sitting in this car. Now I've got them, that's as far back as this one can go anyway. But if I want to move it up so it sits on the valve cover the way I want it to, it isn't going to work. So it's going to end up going over the head this way a little bit. That one, I could notch it a wee bit for those wires or those lines. It would give me a little bit more, but and I could notch this here. I don't know that I want to do that though. Are we up against? Yeah. really want them to sit up like this more. That's still my goal. I like them. So I got to figure out how I'm going to get them to sit up like this. And then this one, I wanted to sit up like that as well. I can't until I get all that out of the way. So we're going to have to cut all of this out of here. Going to cut all of this out. I think I could probably do all that with a quarter band, which is what I'm hoping, because this is a much less violent machine. Now that I've got these basically where I want them, this one's going to sit like that. I guess I could let them hang like they are now, but I kind of want them sitting up a little bit more. This one's pretty close where it's at, but it's going to go like so, like this. That's pretty much where that one's going to go. Just got to figure out a way to fasten it. But there's more to this than meets the eye. I need to take these back off momentarily, and I got to put the intake on that I'm going to be putting on before I find a way to mount these. These are just hanging out there right now. I do think I've got a bolt here and a bolt there that I think I'm going to be able to do the front with. I'm probably going to have to get underneath this thing and find a way to fasten the bottom from underneath. Still burning my brain up on how I'm going to mount them. I really want to mount them up in one of the mounting holes on the other valve cover, but because of the angle that they're at, I don't think that's going to happen. Although it's possible. It's still possible. So, not sure yet. We'll keep kicking that around. In the meantime, let's go ahead and change the intake, and we'll go from there. This is not good. Evidently moisture has gotten in here, caused a little bit of not goodness. We can fix that easy enough, but I also got a little bit of aluminum filings. That's not good either. So let's peel this off gently. The thing about aluminum is it's soft, so even if it gets into stuff, it shouldn't harm much. I'm not saying it won't harm anything, but it's not as going to be bad as, you know, if you got it steel in there. Alright, I think we're good. I'm going to get this out of here. Man, we got some aluminum filings. How the heck did that happen? This thing was all sealed up. But we're going to get them all out. It's a good thing about your hands. God made the oils in our hands very sticky. And, you know, it'll pick up anything. Dirt of any kind, you know. How often have you stuck your finger in your drink to get a floaty out, right? And that's because it'll stick to your fingers. So I'm going to get something to clean these up. This side's worse than that one. And then I'm going to have to put some valve cover gaskets on. This one's already done. I did this one a while back, so this one's good. I got to do this to this one. I'm going to have to get some more rags and cover up in here so when I clean this up, it doesn't go all into the valley here. Alright, let's get this secured, this cleaned, and get to putting the new intake on. Woohoo! Very, 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 and I mean very important, remove your rag. And do it while you're thinking about it. Because I've never done it, thank God, but I have seen engines that have been destroyed, and when I took it apart, I found a rag that somebody had used, probably when they were doing such a thing like cleaning it, and they've left the rag in there. And then it eventually destroyed the engine because the rag disintegrated, got caught up in the oil pump, and that was the end of that engine. So, do yourself a favor, and before you do anything else, remove that rag. And then pull out any little dirt that may have fallen in there. I only had 2 bolts holding this bad boy in here because I knew I'd be taking it off again. That one I secured for testing purposes. I'm not going to be able to mount the Hemi valve covers to these holes like I was planning on doing it. I also thought maybe I would drill into these, and I still could do that, and I still may. But for right now, and you'll see in a minute when I put this intake on, these are not going to be accessible, even on the Hemi valve covers. So I really kind of have to have these mounted before I put the valve covers on. So that becomes a sticky wicket, you know what I mean? I'm going to pull these off gently just in case there's debris on them. Holy Moses, there's debris inside. That's crazy. I've actually got metal filings inside of here. Golly, how did that do that? It just goes to show you it can work its way in no matter what. So I'm going to have to... and you can't use a magnet because it's aluminum. Yay. Okay, well, I'm just going to have to sit here and pick it all out with my fingers. So I'll spare you that. Shut the camera off at this point, and I'll come back when I get it all cleaned up. I only put sealer on the valve cover side. I never put it on the side where it's touching the head. You would think that's where you want it, but you want to let the gasket do the sealing. And so I usually only do the side on the valve cover. Now these valve covers make it easy because they say Chevrolet, and so you want to do it with the Chevy facing you so you can read it properly. I'm using button head screws because we're putting the Hemi valve covers on there, and we want the Hemi valve covers to fit as flat as possible over the top of these. The first one is the hardest. After that, it just gets easier. With the intake I want to use, these little nibby thingies are in the way, and honestly, I just don't like them. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them off. I'm going to be using a cutoff tool, and I'm not going to lie, it's really, and I mean really loud. So I'm going to just maybe play some music or turn the volume way down. So this is the last bit of talking until I'm done. You'll just have to kind of watch what I'm doing, because there's no way I'm going to be able to talk while these things are running. Here's the moment of truth. I got that side fitted. Now we got to see if I can get this side fitted. there you have it. What do you think? I still got to figure out a way to mount. I've got to figure out a way to run the spark plugs, because the exhaust manifold is like right here. So I don't know. I don't think I can get wires to go in there unless, yeah, it's all pretty darn close in there, believe it or not. So to get around the exhaust manifold, I could probably do this one easy enough. But these I don't know. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to build a heat shield inside here out of aluminum or out of some steel. And oh, what am I going to do with these? Well, what I'm going to do, I think I may put just like a decorative bolt in there, like so. Or I could do this type. That actually looks pretty good like that. I think I like that better because it's countersunk a little bit. So I'll have to lop these off and then I'll just mount them in there like that. I think that looky's nice. So that decision's made. But we're here, folks. I mean, everything's in. And I just got to figure out a way to run the spark and plug wires. I hate to do it this way. I'd really like to legitimately run all the wires through here. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to find a decorative way to cover up the distributor, and I'm just going to run Fox wires from here to behind the engine. Or actually, yeah, I could run them out and under. Instead of running across like this, I could run them under and come up like this, and then you really won't be able to tell what's, yeah, I think I might just go that route. Okay. Yeah, I think that would look neater too than all those wires running across the top of the engine. Alrighty. I think it's going to work, folks. I do believe it's going to work. And still got to figure out a way to mount this bad boy, but it's in there. And I think this one I have a bolt right here somewhere. I want to tip that up a little tiny bit like that, I think. And I have a bolt up in here somewhere. That one I do not. This one does not have a bolt anywhere nearby. Or is there one up in here? Nope. Oh, wait a minute. Yep, there's one right there. Okay. So they both have a bolt up in this corner. So I think I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole and put it in that bolt. But I want to put these just like I want them, which is going to be like this. Put the bolt, and that'll hold. That one bolt will do a whole lot of holding. And I still have to build the heat shield, because there's going to be rubber and wires here, and you don't want all that heat coming through. But we are, at this point, we are hemifying my small block Chevy. So I'm pretty happy with that. I've got it to fit, which is a miracle in itself. Let's make sure my steering column ain't going to hit right here. It is. So I've got to trim it a tiny bit more right there. Unless I do it like that. I don't know if that's gonna. I don't know if that will hit or not. Shouldn't. I'll just trim that up a little bit right there. And I think that'll be fine. It's craziness, isn't it? The way they designed the steering column. I don't even know why that lock nut is there, to be honest with you. But I'm going to trim this just a tiny bit more. I do want it up here like this. And so when I put that bolt in, that should be okay. I might wait and do that before I trim it anymore. And you got to get this mounted in place. Yep. Let's keep working. Everybody does their intake gaskets a little bit different. I like to just put some Permatex or silicone, whatever you want to call it, around the water ports, but nothing around the actual where gas is going to go, because it doesn't hold up well with gas. So I just don't put any on there. But at the water ports, you don't want water leaking. So I'm going to put just a light bit around the water port. It's always nice to feel a nice big gas bubble in your tube, where I've already squeezed 20% of the tube and nothing came out, just a big gas bubble. That always makes me real happy to know I spent $5 or $6 on a tube that's defective and just full of air. That's always wonderful. If you look, the gasket will say this side up. So I'm making sure that I put that side up. Alright. Now we go back and we put some more. Oops, it's sliding. What's up with that? Put a little bit more on the gasket itself. Now they give you gaskets for what I call the China walls, but I don't ever use them. I don't recommend you use them. What I recommend you do is put a nice big, thick bead of silicone, kind of like welding. You move it a little bit and you make dimes, right? So that you have a nice, thick, steady bead. So that when you set the more air, yay. So when you set this down, the intake down into this, it's going to go where you want it to go. If you use the gasket, chances are when you set it down in there, it's going to ooze out and slip out and cause leaks. So. In the middle of all that, I had a mosquito decide he wanted to eat me. I couldn't do anything about it because I was busy. The intake in place, and I didn't bring any bolts with me. That's brilliant, David. So I'm going to try to set it in place as best I can. This intake does not allow me to see a whole lot going on. So I'm going to set it in place, and then I'm going to have to go find me some bolts real quick. Yay. Always come prepared. Don't do what I just did. Make sure you got your bolts ready. I think that's probably the best I've ever set an intake in place in my life. Now let me go get some bolts. Now the horror story is these bolts down in here. How in God's green earth am I supposed to get to those? That's terrible. I'm wondering, do I need to take the valve covers off to get at them? That's insanity. And there's no way I'm getting to those bolts with, let's get the end ones first so I can at least get this gasket smushed in here. Okay. Why does this not want to go in now? It's going right in on that one. Let's try this one again. There's always got to be something going on. I know there's something going on. And figures my flashy light is to run a tap down in there. Golly, that doesn't want to go for nothing. These ones in the middle are, I may have to take the valve covers off. That's going to suck. There we go. Let's try that. Nobody said this intake was going to be easy. You can't even get your hands in here. It's going to be all ratchet, or it's going to be all box end, really. Golly, Sergeant Cotter. There we go. Okay, we got that one lined up finally. Gad's watching. He probably can't see nothing. This intake's going to be a humdinger, bud. I'm telling you. I'm going to probably have to take the valve cover off. I think that's what's going to happen, because there's no way, maybe, but it's going to be difficult at the very least. I can't even get at those. This one, I'm just going to throw one in there for now. This one's going to have a stem for the alternator bracket. So, if you'll remember, I didn't put any Permatex on the bottom of the gasket for the valve covers, and now that's turning out to be a good thing, because I'm going to probably have to take them off to get this in here. What a design. It's crazy, I tell you. It's crazy. Well, I'm going to wrestle with these bolts for a while. No sense you sitting here watching me for the next 20 minutes, half an hour, trying to wrestle with bolts. So I'm going to shut the camera off for the moment when I get these bolts torqued down, unless I decide to take these valve covers off, which you've seen that too, so that may have to happen. If I pull them off, you're not missing much, because I can get in here with the valve cover, with the screwdriver to get those valve covers off. So at least I've got this sealed up so that no more filings will fall into my engine. I need to put this back in here. Yep, that's probably what's going to happen. I got the intake tightened up. We still have a lot to do. A lot of this stuff's just sitting here. Carburetors are just hanging out. This is just sitting on here. I'm fixing to slide the valve covers on. It's getting near the end of the day, so I just wanted to get this on for effect. But the intake is firmly planted at this point. And now I have to work on mounting points. I do plan on still making some heat shields for this to avoid burning the spark plug wires. And when it comes to the spark plug wires, only the people who watch my channel are going to know the secret. Everybody else is not going to have any idea how I did all this, but you people who are watching my channel, my fans or my haters, will know how I did this. But anyway, getting ready to mount the valve covers so that they're bolted on. Okay? The way I'm going to do that is, if you'll notice down here, I don't know if you can see that. Yep, I'm guessing you can. So right here, I've got a stud, and I've got another one on the other side in the same spot. And that is just for measuring purposes. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of Permatex on these bolts. Why are you putting Permatex on those bolts? Why shouldn't you put Loctite? That'd be a negative, not what I'm getting ready to do. Alright, I would use Dykem, but I'm not going to be doing this fast enough to transfer. Basically what I'm doing is I'm making a transfer punch out of these bolts. Okay? So I'm going to slide the valve cover into place. And I'm going to have to do this exactly exact to how I want it, so that it'll transfer in the right spots. So we are keeping this right where I want it. So when it hits that stud, it's going to be right where I want it. And if you look, you'll see that little orange spot? There we go. Now I know where to drill my hole. Now, time to do the other side. To the other side! How's that song go? Do this before. There we go. Now, that one I kind of messed up a little bit. I'm going to have to redo that one. Ooh. Well, that one is right on the edge. But it didn't smear. So see it right here? That one's going to be tough, but okay. So I'm going to drill those holes. That's good English. So I am going to drill the holes in those spots and mount these where they belong. In the meantime, well, I guess we can just drill the holes. I can take those studs back out, so I'm not going to use those for mounting. I'm going to use bolts, but I'm going to drill these holes, make sure I did it right. I hope I do it right, because there's not going to be a second chance. Once I drill the hole is there. I'm going to go ahead and put a small punch. Make sure that's where I want it. Before I drill my hole, That way the drill won't walk. Alright, now I got to get a bigger drill and run through that. Alright, here's the bigger one. Alright. See how bad it looks on this side. And we're going to have to neaten that up just a tad. Usually the best way to do that is to get an even bigger drill and just kind of hit it gently on the other side. And that'll get rid of that big burr. Now I'm just going to take the bigger drill. There we go. Put a little chamfer on there. Now it's nice and neat. Now this is right on that weld, so it's going to require a little bit of trickery to get a bolt to fit nice on that. We'll have to kind of build a funky washer. I left a stud in there just for fitment purposes. The hole ain't big enough, but for all other purposes, it's in the perfect spot. So let me drill this little bit bigger hole. Well, that's it for today anyway. I've got to go put up a fence. Our horses are getting out. So we're going to stop here for the day, but we got a lot done. We got the valve covers fitted. We got the intake on. This is the project. This is the Grr-Hemi project. We've got her looking like a Hemi. It'll still act like a small block Chevy, but at least it looks really cool. And that's kind of the object. This is just a driver. If it really had a Hemi in it, I'm probably not going to take it out and drive it. This way, I don't care. I'm going to drive this thing all over the place. Take it to shows, whatever I can do. It's going to be a daily driver. Or not, maybe not daily, but we're going to drive it a lot. So this is a very practical way to do things to make it look cool, but still act very reliable. Not that Hemis aren't reliable, but they're not reliable. And they don't fit in a Gremlin so good. This fit pretty decent. Took a lot of work, as you got to see. This intake, I couldn't wait to put the intake on and get it all put together. The intake did pose a few challenges along the way. I had to modify the covers a little bit more to make them fit right, and then fasten them down. I've only got one bolt holding them in right now, and I'm not sure I'm going to get more than that. But once I get all the accessories and everything on, accessories, here, whatever. Like the alternator, that's all the only accessory there really is. Once I get the alternator mounted, it's going to go on this side, passenger side, so that's why I left the stud on that side, because I think I'm going to go with a longer stud and then mount the alternator brackets and stuff to it. We'll see. Not really sure how that's going to go yet. The next video will be on getting the spark plug wires run, getting the distributor in it, and getting the accessories on the front. Accessories? Yeah, accessories, I think. Anyway, who knows? I've been speaking English for 60 years and still can't get it right. But anyway, I'm in the cool zone now, you know what I mean? I've got it, now I knew it was possible. Got that done, get the wiring hooked up in there, the alternator on it, put some oil in this bad boy, get the exhaust hooked up. I don't know if I'm going to attempt to do the exhaust myself. I did last time, so I may still give it a shot myself. I'd probably like to take it up to some friends of mine at Volunteer Muffler and see what they would charge me to do that. And I will video that. I'm pretty sure they're not real shy about getting videotaped. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe do it that way. We'll see. We'll see what we're going to do with the exhaust. But I'm done with this underneath. I do have to remake the torque tube. The torque tube's a little bit short. The way I bent it and everything, it came up a little short. I'd rather have it too long than too short. So that's not an innuendo, by the way, although I guess it could be. But I'm going to make it a little bit longer. I'm going to make another one, make it a little bit longer, and hopefully the geometry will stay the same. And then we'll be ready to take this old girl out for a drive. We are on the downside of the slope at this point. I figured out what I'm going to do with the wiring, so stay tuned for that video because it's going to be an interesting... I was looking at it and I said, because I've been pondering in my head how I'm going to splice wires and make them so long and blah, 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 blah. But I figured out how I'm going to do it. So stay tuned for the next video after this one. See how all that gets done. Appreciate you watching. Please subscribe. See ya.